Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome to another MAMG Let's Play of 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, I think is the right order for it. When we left off, Ace decided that he was gonna put himself to sleep, and so he drifted away all peacefully, and now we have to leave him behind. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and forewarn you guys because I'm terrible at pretending things are the way that they're not. This is actually my second recording of this episode because I filmed the whole thing, I got to a good stopping point, and then the footage was just corrupt. It crashed, it didn't work, so I had to go back and actually play back from my old save file to get back to this spot so that I could actually continue the story. So if it looks like I'm a boy genius when we get to the puzzles, it's because I've already done them. But I'm seriously really ridiculously smart, so just go with it, okay? Anyways, Lotus is telling us that we need to leave Ace behind, and of course Junpei and June are not really fans of that idea. She wasn't feeling any remorse, Junpei was sure of that. Still, he held no grounds upon which to oppose her. It felt wrong, but he had to agree. Then suddenly, Santa spoke. Yeah, but we're not done choosing yet, are we? Huh? What do you mean? Well, we haven't decided who's going in what door. Ah, yes, that's true. Well, enough of this screwing around. Let's decide. You first, Lotus. Which door do you want? I want door number 8. It's the same number as my bracelet number. Got it. You're 8. You're next, 7. Which one do you want? I'll take 7. I can't get along with that old lady. What? What did you just say? Her face distorted by rage, Lotus took a step towards 7. He threw up his hands and made a face like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Ugh, you're gonna get it next time. She shot him a glare that would have melted steel, then turned and stalked off. Alright, who's next? Santa's gaze moved across the 3 people left. Finally, they stopped on Junpei. Junpei, which door do you want? At last, Junpei's mind was already made up. Now, I'm gonna go with 7. That's what I decided. I wish that I would have ended the episode here so that you guys could have told me what door you wanted me to go through, but I'm gonna go through door 7 because I like 7. He's not a bad person, and I figured that's the best person to stick around with. I think I'm gonna go with door 7. Okay, 7 it is. Yeah. Alright then, that means June's gotta go through 8. What? Why? What? Santa grimaced and muttered angrily to himself, but he finally began to explain. If the 6 of us are gonna keep going without leaving anyone behind, there's only 3 ways we can do it. Plan A. Go through 7 with 3, 5, 8, and go through 8 with 4, 6, 7. Plan B. Go through 7 with 4, 5, 7, and go through 8 with 3, 6, 8. Plan C. Go through 7 with 3, 6, 7, and go through 8 with 4, 5, 8. And that's it. Those are our only options. In other words, 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 can never go through the same doors. You get it now? As Santa finished, June looked over at Junpei, tears welling up in the corners of her eyes. Oh no. You're saying we aren't gonna see each other again for a long time. Junpei felt just as June did. He wanted to be at her side, whatever trials they were preparing to face. But he knew if they were to survive, he had to swallow his feelings. In order for the 6 of them to move forward, he and June had to be separated. He looked at June. He was scared to lose her, but he swallowed, steeled his resolve, and did his best to smile. Hey, come on. You're making it sound like we're never gonna see each other again. We gotta split up, but only for a while. This is just like when we went into the 4 and 5 doors, remember? We got split up too, but we all met back up. I bet 7 and 8 are just like that. You mean they're connected somewhere? Yeah, probably. Probably? She didn't sound very hopeful. It was 7 that interjected. I'm sure they're gonna connect somewhere. Why? What makes you think so? If they didn't connect, neither team can get through door 9. In other words, the game would end right there. Zero's been on top of it so far. I don't think he'd blow it now. I'm sure he wants to have his fun as long as possible. He's not gonna end this game until we get through the 9 door. June said nothing. The tears were gone, but her eyes were still sad as they looked at Junpei. He met them, and with what reassurance he could manage, laid his hand gently on her shoulder. Everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna see each other again, I promise. June bit her lip and gave him an almost imperceptible nod. Yes, promise? Her voice was barely above a whisper. Santa's voice shattered the moment. You guys are done, right? He stretched and continued. What a jerk. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Clover and I will both go into separate groups. I figure I'll take 8 and Clover can take 7. Any problems with that, Clover? Clover looked away and was silent for a moment. Whatever. It was more of a dismissal than an agreement, but Santa didn't seem to care. Alright, we're ready to go then. Let's move. At Santa's command, the group split and headed for their respective doors. Clover, 7, and Junpei walked toward door 7. Santa, Lotus, and June headed for door 8. For a long moment, they stood in front of the door. 7 took a deep breath. You guys ready? Yeah. Yes. Okay, let's go. Here we go. The door had opened. A narrow hallway stretched out before them. 7 and Clover leapt through the door. The moment they did, their bracelets beeped. The detonators in their bracelets had been activated. Junpei stepped forward to follow them. But as he was about to step over the threshold, he stopped. He looked to his right, toward door 8. June stood there, a mirror image of Junpei. She turned and looked toward him. Their eyes met. They nodded. Their farewell took almost 1.5 seconds. Then, someone took hold of Junpei's arms and hauled him bodily through the door. He heard the sound of the numbered door slam shut behind him. 7's not having any of that. You know he picked them up. His bracelet gave a cold electronic beep. Yeah. Okay, only 81 seconds left. No time to waste, guys. Let's get moving. 7 led the way down the hallway. Junpei and Clover followed him as fast as they could. After what seemed like far more than 81 seconds, they reached the end of the hall. To the left of a wooden door, they found the dead. There was no time to rest or catch their breath. All 3 slammed their hands, in quick succession, over the scanner panel of the dead. I like this music too. Still trying to catch his breath, 7 leaned heavily against the wall. It stopped. It stopped. His smile seemed forced and a little crooked. This is the second time we've gone through one of those numbered doors, but whew, you never really get used to it. He stood up straight, no longer out of breath, and wiped some of the sweat from his head and neck. Clover smirked at him. I would have thought a guy your size would have bigger balls than that. What? What the hell did you just say? Say it again, I dare you. You have no... You wanna die? I'd like to see you try. You brat. Alright, let's go. Hey, calm down, guys. This isn't the time for this. It's not gonna do us any good. Gosh. Gosh. Junpei sighed. Sometimes he wondered if the doors of the puzzles were really the greatest challenge they faced. Wait here for a minute, alright? I'm gonna see if there's any other doors. They didn't respond, but Junpei wasn't in the mood for conversation anyway. First, he examined the inner part of the numbered door. It was, of course, shut tight. On the left was a single short hallway that terminated almost immediately at a thick iron wall. Junpei doubted the wall could be moved. At last, he gave up and returned to 7, who was tapping lightly on the wooden door. This door is the only option we got, right? Yeah, looks like it. There was a metal plaque bolted above the door. It read, Operating Room. If this was to be believed, the room on the other side of the door was an operating room. Something about it made Junpei feel nervous. Well, there's no point to standing around. Might as well go in and see what's waiting for us. Seven grabbed the brass knob and slowly opened the door. The creak of the hinge sounded like the groan of an old woman. A chill snaked its way down Junpei's spine. Quickly, he gathered what courage he could and took the first step into the room. Seven followed, with Clover right behind him. Part of the room just past the door was obscured by a screen. Clover's curiosity got better of her, and she darted past Junpei to peer around the screen. I don't know why that looked like a period. Yeah! Her scream nearly blew out Junpei's eardrums. He and Seven ran toward Clover to see what had frightened her. As they rounded the screen, and the cause of her outburst was immediately clear. Oh, what the hell is this? Is this a corpse? It was something that looked kind of like a human, lying across some sort of bed. No, not a bed. An operating table. The table sat on a rusty steel lift, and the cluster of bright operating lights shone down on it from the ceiling. Slowly, they approached. As they got closer to the body, it became clear that it wasn't a body at all. What the hell? That's just a huge doll or something. A doll? Clover did not look terribly comforted. Slowly, she approached the operating table and looked, as intently as possible, from as far away as possible, at the thing. Phew. Junpei could see her relax. You're right. It's only a doll. Man, it really scared me. She heaved a great sigh of relief and wiped a few drops of sweat from her forehead. Seven smirked. Well, I guess it would have been weird if it actually had any balls. Shut it. Don't start with me, fatty. Oh, what's this? You want a piece of me, short stuff? Yeah, bring it on, you whale. Hey, guys. Not again, okay? Seriously, knock it off. Junpei sighed and shook his head. Anyway, it looks like he's got something, the two of you could stand to have a little more of. I'm talking about a heart. Huh? Oh, this? You mean on his chest? Yeah. It was set a little higher than normal for a human body, but from the shape of the organ, there could be no doubt that it was a heart. Why would there be a heart in a doll? I don't think it's a doll. You think maybe it's like a medical mannequin or something? Or maybe it's got more personal uses. Seven's grin was more than a little perverted. Seven, really? Clover glared at him. Anyway, how about we take a look around this place? Let's go. Okay. Sure thing. Alright, so I may be able to get through this actually fairly quickly, since I know what I need to do, but I'll try to give you guys as detailed of instructions as to what you should do and how to go about doing it, because it's not too hard, it's just a certain order. So anyways, we would look at this guy here. These dolls are kind of creepy, you know? Hey, it says something here. John? You think that this doll's name? Maybe? This thing is creepy. I wonder why it's on the bed. Alright, so there's John. Let me see here. I'm gonna try and go in a nice order. So there's a scalpel here. All the other items are just too rusted. So yeah, it's all pretty rusty. Okay, so there's some tools there that we need, and then we also need to go here. Same thing, the forceps here, very clean, very nice. And over here is actually our objective. This lovely mannequin here. Another medical mannequin? From the looks of it, this one's a chick. She has a name too, Lucy. Poor thing. Looks like Miss Lucy only has a head and a left arm. Maybe we're supposed to gather all her parts. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. Alright, so the reason why I didn't go to this mannequin yet was because we need this tool here to grab the item in its lungs. And then we're going to use the scalpel to cut with the scalpel, and we got a key. Alrighty then. So again, I'm sorry if this is super quick, but it's literally, I just did this. So it's very fresh in my memory. Awesome, it's unlocked. That key right there will actually unlock the 2 doors that we're going to be going into. Hey Junpei, do you think there are any slugs on this ship? Huh? Well, if they are, I was thinking we could put salt on them. What's she pointing at? The label states NaCl, which is sodium chloride, which is salt. Salt, huh? Do you think Seven will shrivel up if we put it on them? Hey, you say something? Alright, Junpei, there's a bottle of iron powder on the shelf. How do you know it's iron? The label says Fe. Fe stands for iron, right? Something stinks. Is it coming from this bottle? It says NH3. Well, of course that stinks. It's ammonia. Alright, so I'm clicking on these so that you guys can see what they say to them. Hey Junpei, there's dihydrogen monoxide on the shelf. Why don't you just say water? What's this? Looks like a can with the spray nozzle. It's the CO2. So it's a can filled with carbon dioxide. Ooh, good stuff. Let's go for a drink. What are you talking about? Talking about that bottle. It says C2H5OH, right? It's ethanol. That's right. It's also known as ethyl alcohol. It's pretty much what booze is made of. So, you're gonna drink it? No, I won't. They might say that's what's on the label, but there could be anything in there. Good for you, Seven. Okay, so these bottles here we're gonna need very soon. We got the blue liquid and the red liquid. And now, to save myself a little bit of time, I'm actually going to go ahead and solve this puzzle here, which did take me a fair amount of time when I first did it, but thankfully for you guys, you don't have to worry about that because I'm a smarty smart pants. Okay, so it says iron 1, salt 2, water 3. Now remember, carbon dioxide, ammonia, and ethanol were all items that were around there. What they're trying to tell you is how many molecules are in each compound. So like, water has 3 because it's what? 1 hydrogen and 2 oxygen? Yeah, H2O. No, 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Anyways, so it's not 2, it's actually 3. So for carbon dioxide, ammonia, and ethanol, what you have to do is you have to figure out how many molecules are in them. What do you think it's a hint for? Maybe it's got to do something with this box. Something to do with this box. It's locked. Looks like you have to enter a passcode on the keypad to open it. I can only enter 3 numbers. E is for enter and C is for clear. Once you input the number, press E. If you mess up, press C. Okay, let's give it a shot. Oh, it's not going to be giving it a shot because I already remember. I already wrote down this number. So it's 3 for CO2, obviously. 4 for ammonia, which is NH3. And then ethanol is C2H5OH, which is actually 9 molecules. We did it. So, there's our arm. Yay. Isn't it lovely? And there's a heart here. Even more lovely. Okay, so now we're gonna go back. You think we should go back? Yeah, I think that's probably best. Clover nodded and left. Junpei was about to follow her when he realized that Seven wasn't following suit. Hey Seven, what's up? Oh, well... He looked up at Junpei distractedly, and then back down at the brown bottle he held cupped in his large hands. What's that? In response, Seven tossed the bottle gently to Junpei. He caught it and twisted it around to read the label. I'm not going to be able to read this again. Okay, so it says ethylene diamine tartrate on the bottle, but for some reason in the text box here, it's like one gigantic word, so ethylemine, I don't know, I can't read it. EDT. It's tartaric ethylamidine. I can't English. What kind of medicine is that? It's not medicine. I think it's an industrial strength detergent. Why would they have something like that here? Well, probably to clean stuff up. Clean what up? Hell if I know. Still, looks like it's cleaned my brain up. Junpei looked up from the bottle. You remember something? Seven nodded, slowly, and spoke. Well, I remember a story about EDT. It happened about 50 years ago. There was this factory, somewhere in America, making big old EDT crystals. They were making it to sell as an industrial strength cleaner, like I told you before. But a year after the factory started up, something strange started happening with the crystals they were building. Water molecules started attaching themselves to EDT crystals. This made them into a sort of a mutation of the original crystals called hydrate. Once the crystal turns into a hydrate though, it's useless as a cleaner. The factory had to just dump the crystals. As a hydrate, they were useless. But it didn't end there. After that day, the same thing started happening in EDT factories everywhere, even ones nowhere near that first American factory. They'd been making crystals the same way, with the same materials and the same equipment and the same environment. But now, all of a sudden, every single crystal they formed turned into a hydrate. In fact, ever since that day, no factory anywhere has been able to make a pure EDT crystal. Even in EDT research done years before, they'd never gotten to hydrate. But after it happened at the first factory, it just spread. It was like, man, how do you say it? You mean like it was infected with a virus or something? Seven shook his head. No, not like that. It spread like wildfire. It showed up in labs that were completely isolated from the rest of the world. It even started happening in the crystals that were completely sealed up. It doesn't seem like it could have been a result of this stuff coming in contact with other samples. Then, well, I'd guess it was some sort of information. Like, the crystals were transmitting this information across the world somehow. What information? How to make a new crystal. Something had to tell the stuff how to do it, right? Like, it just whispered to the EDT in the tank. Hey, if you do this, you can take in water molecules. Come on, man. That's just... I mean, who is this someone anyway? Someone you can't see. Someone who exists all over the world. You mean, like, a god? Or maybe the devil? Seven grinned. As Junpei was trying to figure out what on earth he was going to say next, Clover's shrill voice pierced the room. Hey! What are you two doing over there? Stop wasting time and get over here. Okay, we're coming. Jeez. Seven looked at Junpei. Yeah, so anyway, that's the story. It might be useful someday. Don't forget it. With that cryptic remark, he turned and left the room. Junpei was left behind to ponder what he'd just heard. Information being transmitted invisibly. Could such a thing really happen? Well, thinking about that crap isn't going to help me right now. We need to figure out how to get the hell out of here first. He took a deep breath and tried to clear his mind and followed after Seven. So that is a very important theme that you guys are going to be seeing in 999. It's very, very interesting and very cool. I think it's super cool, and hopefully you guys will find it cool too. But yeah, it's very interesting how they kind of like address this, because it's very different from like Danganronpa or Steins Gate or anything else like that. They have their own approach to things, and I think it's really cool. I think it's really clever. But that is the beginning of everything. All right, so what's in here? Let's see if... a piece of paper. What's this? Is this some kind of medical record? Let's take it. Okay. Alright, so now... let me show you guys here. We got some doors that are red, blue, and purple. And this is, I think, just a sink. Yeah. The doctors and nurses probably washed up their hands here before the operation. Nothing suspicious here. So these are locked. Each and every single one of them are locked. There's a red plate on it. Do you think that means something? Oh, indeed it does. Because right here we got this cool little contraption. I found a beaker. Yes, you did. Okay. Where is... there we go. Blue liquid. Let's go ahead and pour that in there. Hey, the blue light turned on. And I heard a noise. It sounded like something unlocking. I wonder... you know what? Let me just go ahead and go back and grab it. I'll just get each one at a time. So there's a leg. Isn't that lovely? Just a leg sitting there in the locker. Yeah, it's kind of disturbing, I know. Okay, so then we go back and we do the same thing with the red liquid. The red light's on now. I think I heard another noise. Alright, dump it back out. Other leg. Something inside. Yeah, there is. We need that leg too. Alright, and lastly, of course, blue and red make purple. We're gonna put the blue in, we're gonna put the red in. And turn this light on here. I get it. You combine the red liquid and the blue liquid to make a purple one. Good job, Junpei. The purple light came on and I heard it unlock. I'm sure it's unlocked. The locker with the purple plate's gotta be unlocked. Alright, let's just see what happened. She's like, it's gonna be unlocked. The lock, it's been und. Alright. There we go. Isn't that lovely? Just all the fun little pieces. Okay, I think we have everything. Maybe. No, don't go back in there, you silly. Go back and turn around. I think this bed doesn't look very comfortable. No, it doesn't. Lucy's head and arm are sitting on the bed. Maybe something will happen if we gather all of her body parts. Am I missing one? Oh, I am. I'm missing the chest. Where was the chest at? Oh, right there. Duh. Okay. Now I can go and do this. Silly me. Okay, so we've collected 6 parts of the medical mannequin. So, the ones we got must be for Lucy, right? Yeah. Seems like it. Well, I say let's give Lucy her parts back. Any objections? Nope. Agreed. Alright, let's get started. Combine! I mean, you gotta shout that when it happens, right? Hey, nothing happened. That's odd. Maybe it's the wrong weight. Weight? Yeah, well, you know how there's a scale on the side of the bed? Maybe we need to get the scale to a specific number. How are we gonna do that? I think we're supposed to swap her body parts with John's. Oh, let's give it a shot. Operating instructions. So yes, now we're gonna switch some body parts around to make them weigh the same. Again, I already know which ones we need to move, which actually it's everything but the heart. Now again, this is a very interesting theory that they're going to be introducing. I don't remember encountering it when I played through it again, so I think it's later on in the episode, but they're going to kind of like call back to this puzzle, so don't forget about it because it's really, really interesting. Hey Junpei, I think I heard something. It came from John's operating table. We better check it out. All right, Johnny boy, what you got for us? Oh god, I'm like spinning in circles. Here we go. Huh? The lid on the scale. Hey, it opened. Oh, I get it. It must have opened because we matched John's weight to what's on the chart. And we got our key. Now we can get on out of here. Okay. See, that wasn't too bad, right? The biggest thing that I really struggled with was the molecules and all that stuff, because that was just crazy for me. Hey, hold on. Junpei stopped, about to put the key into the doorknob. What's up? Where's Clover? Huh? Junpei turned around. Clover was nowhere to be seen. Where the hell did she go? Okay, just hold on a minute. I'll go get her. Sure thing. Junpei left Seven at the door and headed back to the operating room. He found her, standing next to the operating table. She was staring at the mannequin. Hey, Clover, what's wrong? Come on, let's get out of here. She didn't respond. If she hadn't been standing up and breathing, Junpei might have thought she was dead. What are you doing? Did you want to come back here and say goodbye to John? It wasn't the best joke, but it was something. An attempt to lighten the mood. Clover didn't laugh. She stood, stock still, and said nothing. Hey, Clover, can you hear me? Perhaps it was something he'd said, or perhaps it was something else. Suddenly, her mouth opened and she whispered in a dry, dead voice. My brother might be dead. Huh? That's why we couldn't find him. If he's dead, I'm gonna be next. Suddenly, the operating room felt very, very cold. What are you talking about? What's wrong with you? He gave her a small shake, but she still didn't respond. The silence grew heavier. Let's just get out of here. We've got the key, so let's use it. That cool with you? Clover nodded, almost imperceptibly. Still, Junpei was glad to see she at least was somewhat responsive. He put his hand on her shoulder and guided her to the preparation room. As they arrived at the door, she suddenly stopped. I'm sorry. What was this? Why was she apologizing? Junpei wasn't sure what to make of her. Was she emotionally unstable because her brother had gone missing? I'm really sorry. Just forget everything I told you, okay? Don't worry about it. Really. I mean it. How could anyone pretend not to hear something like that? But something told him it wasn't the best time to press the issue. Junpei gave her the warmest, kindest smile he could manage. Alright. Thank you. Her smile was weak. It was almost painful to watch. Hi, Seven. What the hell took you guys so long? Seven looked up as they walked into the room, clearly irritated. You playing doctor in there or something? Maybe. Jealous? Seven avoided answering the question. They stood in front of the door. Junpei took out the Jupiter key. Alright, I'm gonna open it now. That cool? You don't need to keep asking. Just do it, alright? Fine then. He slid the key into the keyhole and turned it. He felt it unlock. We are out of that room! Huh? Record time, right? I mean, it took me way longer the first time, actually. The door opened with a soft, melancholy creak. Beyond it lay a simple, white hallway. There was no fanfare or confetti. Obviously, there was no one there to applaud them. They simply walked through the door, and that was it. Alright, let's get going. Hey man, what's up with you? You're so serious, you know? Can't you sound more happy? You know, get a little excited? Not really. Junpei turned away from Seven and took his first step down the simple, white hallway. My brother might be dead. I'm gonna be next. Clover had told him only a few minutes before that her brother was probably dead, and that she was likely to follow him. How could he pretend to be happy after hearing something like that? What do you guys think? Why does she think she's gonna be dead, and why is she so certain that Snake is dead? Questions! They left the operating room. The hallway took them around several corners and past several doors, but they were all locked. Until, at last, the final door was hidden in the corner of the hall. Junpei grabbed the handle. As he made to push it open, a voice stopped him. The voice came from behind him and belonged to neither Seven nor Clover. Jumpy! He spun around. He saw someone running toward him from the other end of the hallway. There were 3 people coming towards Junpei and his companions. Santa, Lotus, and June. They pulled up short in front of Junpei, breathing hard. Whoa! What the hell is this? What are you doing here? What? But we didn't... Before he could finish, Clover spoke. Hey guys, could you come take a look at this? She was standing near the end of a small hallway that branched off to the right. The rest of them ran over to her, curious as to what she'd found. There was something on the wall at the end of the hallway. A map of the ship's interior. It said C deck in the upper left corner. It was, they assumed, a map to the floor they were on. Door 7 and Door 8. The map confirmed what they already knew. Both doors eventually led to the hallway where they had found themselves. In fact... Yeah, isn't that what I said? We aren't going to be split up permanently till we find door number 9. We might get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we won't be able to open door 9. That's how the nonary game works. Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again. As he looked more closely, his surprising excitement gave way to wariness. One by one, the others saw what he'd seen. They moved as one for the door. He pulled out the map. He pulled the map of the ship's interior off the wall, put it in his pocket, and followed the others. The 6 of them stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. Santa stepped forward. He took hold of the door and spoke, without looking back at the other 5. Ready? I'm gonna open it. Slowly, all 5 nodded in their silent assent. With a deep breath, Santa threw open the door. They poured through the doorway and into the room. Even without looking around, each one of them knew where they were. They were just where the map had said they would be. The same room they'd been in not so very long ago. The tremendous central hospital room, with empty beds from wall to wall. Yeah, we're back. Hey, Ace! I see. I believe I understand what you're saying. The 6 of you split into 2 teams and went through doors 7 and 8. You solved the puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory, and then met one another in the hallway after opening your respective locked doors. He looked like anyone might, after only just waking up, but it seemed that his brain was working as well as ever. He had managed to grasp, summarize, and understand each team's report. At any rate, I feel a bit silly for my little show of altruism. I'm sure you'll be back for me. I did hope you would be back, but I do confess I didn't think you'd be back so soon. Ace shook his head with a rueful smile. Well, we saw each other again, and we ain't dead, so I say that's good enough. Seven smiled. Anyway, I say we get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need. The key? Ain't that what I just said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Right, Junpei? Junpei nodded. Ah, the solar system keys. We found a couple more in the laboratory and the kitchen. Here, the Earth key and the Saturn key card. And with that, she pressed them into Junpei's hand. The metal key had the Earth symbol on it, and the key card had the Saturn symbol on it. I might lose them. It's probably better if you hold on to them. That way, it won't be my fault if they get lost. Junpei felt slightly less than honored. As a group, they now had 3 keys that had not been used. The Jupiter key, which had been found in the operating room. The Earth key, which Lotus had just handed to Junpei. The Saturn key card, which Lotus had also just handed to Junpei. Junpei tucked the new keys into his pocket. June spoke up. The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of that long, straight hallway, right? Yeah. If the map's right, then it connects to the central staircase. Then, next to the stairs... Wait. They were the first words that anyone had heard out of Clover in quite some time. Her face suggested they weren't going to be very happy words. What about door 3? Look, you saw the map, right? It's the same as 7 and 8. It just leads us back to the big hospital room. There's no point to seeing what's on the other side of that door. There is a point. At least there is for me. There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at 7 as hard as she could, just the same. She looked very much like a frightened puppy. There wasn't a man alive who could have resisted those eyes. 7 looked everywhere in the room except at Clover, and muttered and coughed apologies under his breath. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Snake might be on the other side of door 3. Clover nodded once. The next person to speak was Ace. Very well. I'll be coming with you then. I've had a nice, long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So, 7, you'll help me, won't you? Huh? Me? Junpei did the calculations, quickly, in his head. It looked like 7 was doing them too. At last, he gave up. Well, I guess that's how it's gotta be. So I'm going with you, huh? Yes, you are. Alright, let's get moving. And so it was decided that Clover, Ace, and 7 would discover what lay beyond door 3. Okay, we're heading out. Be careful. Whoa, didn't think I'd be hearing that from you, Lotus. Don't let it get to your head. I'd be in trouble if the 3 of you bought it. The rest of us can't open the 9 door. Ah, the truth comes out. 7 nodded, as if the answer made much more sense, and pulled the lever on the red. Bye guys! Have fun! I wonder what is behind the 3 door. Okay, let's go. The door opened, and Ace, Clover, and 7 jumped through it. 6, 7, 8. After exactly 9 seconds, the door closed noisily. Alright, we should get moving too. Huh? Get moving? Where are we going? Everyone except Lotus seemed rather confused. Well, it would be a waste of time to just sit around, wouldn't it? Let me explain. There's not really much to explain, honestly. I get it. We're gonna see if we can get anywhere interesting with the Jupiter key. Yes. If we're lucky, we might find Snake. They were at the end of the hallway lined by individual hospital rooms. The Jupiter symbol was engraved on the keyhole. Alright, Junpei, open it, if you please. Yeah, on it. Junpei pulled the Jupiter key out of his pocket and slid it into the keyhole. He twisted. With a nice, sharp click, he felt the door unlock. Alright, ready guys? Junpei's companions nodded. He nodded back and slowly and quietly opened the door. Inside was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like a ballroom, with a massive central staircase. Great. Back to the beginning. You sure this is a good idea? What do you mean? Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we? I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here. Yeah, there's a reason. Of course there's a reason. Man, sometimes I can't tell if you're smart or just lucky. Huh? This. Junpei pulled two things out of his pockets. The Saturn key card and the Earth key. Santa cocked his head to one side like an inquisitive bird and looked at them. After several long moments, during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what the cards meant, June took pity on him. Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck, where we are now, there was a big elevator behind the stairs, remember? And next to the elevator, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. And on A deck, on the door to the left, there was a keyhole with the Earth symbol on it, I think. So the two keys that Jumpy has should let us use the elevator and the door on A deck. Yes, that's right. June smiled, pleased with herself. So did Santa. All right, I got it. Let's get started then. What do you say we split up into two teams? Lotus and I will search the Earth one, so you two can search Saturn, all right? Sounds good. Junpei handed the Earth key to Santa. They decided that their initial search should be brief, only 10 minutes. They'd meet back near the staircase once they were done. Junpei and June headed for the elevators. Sure enough, there was a card reader bolted to the wall next to the left of the elevator. He lined up the Saturn keycard and swiped it through the reader. This is actually where I left my last episode, but given the fact that we're still right around 40 minutes, I guess I'm gonna go for a little bit longer. A light on the upper left corner, blinked to life. Floor? Great. Looks like it's working now. Alright, now how do I call the elevator? There was a single button to the right of the elevator door. On the button was an upside down triangle, the universal symbol for down. There didn't appear to be an up button. Junpei pushed it. He didn't have much of a choice. Ooh, I like that animation. This game's got so many cool things to it. It opened. Look, Jumpy. June's voice was excited, but Junpei could hear a tinge of anxiety. Sweet, it opened. Let's get going. He grinned at June, stepping toward the door. As he was about to set foot in it, he felt a hand on his arm. Wait. What? I'm not really, I just, oh gosh. Junpei was was that something of a loss? What could she possibly be so frightened of? Probably afraid of being locked up alone with a boy, or they could only go down. Let's go with this one. After a little thought, Junpei decided that she had to be nervous about being locked up in such a small space alone with the boy. In a way, it was kind of cute. Very demure, you could say, he thought. Still, even though it wasn't exactly rooming the elevator, they weren't going to be pressed up against one another. At least, they didn't have to be. Still, it was making her nervous. Junpei couldn't help but think how innocent she was. Come on, let's go. Again, he stepped toward the elevator. And again, he felt himself restrained. I said, wait a minute. Why? Aren't you afraid, Jumpy? Afraid of what? Well, I've never, She'd never been in an elevator with a man alone before? Even so, she still seemed awfully alarmed. I might get wet. What? Down there, I'd get soaking wet. Well, I mean, of course you would. That's the way it works. I mean, I've never heard of anyone getting soaking wet somewhere else. That's true. You don't mind? This is this is getting weird. Mind what? Getting wet. Well, I don't know. I think it probably, you know, like it. Gosh, Jumpy, you're so brave. Really? I mean, I don't think any guy would do the same thing, you know? What happens, happens, right? If you get the chance, then you just gotta go for it. That's what a man's supposed to do, I guess. It is not. You guys are talking about two completely different things. She's probably worried about swimming because you're going down in the elevator. You doof. You're so cool, Jumpy. I really admire you. That doesn't really seem like the sort of thing you ought to admire someone for. I'm really scared. Yeah. I mean, like you said, you've never done it before. Yes. So I don't think I'll be able to last very long, and then it'll be over. Over? Yes. I'll go to heaven. Heaven? It feels kind of like you're floating in space, and your mind gets all fuzzy, like when you pass out. At least, that's what I've heard from people who've experienced it. Yes, that's what I've heard too. Although, I don't think the same thing happens to guys. What? Huh? But it would happen to men too, wouldn't it? It would happen to anyone. Once it gets into your body, the same thing happens to everyone. Well, I mean, usually it doesn't go inside the man. I mean, generally. Yes, it does. Well, eventually it will. It's not like you really have a choice. Your body will force you to swallow some of it, eventually. Oh, God. Who knew that drowning and this other subject that Junpei's on could be related to in such a random way? What are you trying to do to me? Nothing. I'm not gonna do anything to you. I'm just saying that's what happens. It's a psychological reaction to what you're experiencing. Was that really how it happened? It occurred to Junpei that perhaps that was how it worked. Perhaps he'd been mistaken all these years. He had misunderstood life so gravely. The thought terrified him. June seemed to be entirely oblivious to Junpei's mounting confusion and terror. I know most men probably have larger lungs, but even then, I don't think you can hold your breath for 20, even 10 minutes. Eventually, you'd have to breathe, and then the water would get in your lungs. Once that happens, your body won't be able to get oxygen anymore, and you'll start to feel that floaty feeling as you pass out. Finally, Junpei understood. He understood what June was trying to say, and why she was so scared. Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't last very long. See? She was afraid that the only elevator button pointed down. That meant, of course, that the elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on A or B decks near the central staircase. All of which meant that the elevator could only convey them to the lower decks. And the floor below the one they were on, the D deck, should be completely submerged. There you go. That meant... Hey, wait a minute. This elevator came up from somewhere under us, right? Well, yes. I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor noise like it was moving and then it opened. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So, take a look inside. Junpei jerked his head toward the interior of the elevator. It's not wet at all, is it? The walls and even the floor are totally dry. Oh, you're right. They are. She looked around the elevator, slightly embarrassed. Well, let's test it. Test it? Yeah, watch this. Junpei put one foot on the elevator and bent around the corner of the door until he could see the floor buttons. There were only two, E and C. He pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut, and they heard the grinding of the motor as the elevator car moved down. Clever! Well, not so clever in certain aspects, but clever when it comes to this. A few moments later, they heard the sound of the elevator door grinding open several floors below. Junpei nodded to June and pressed the elevator button again. A few moments later, the elevator returned. The door slid open, and just as Junpei had expected, there was no water to be found. See? Junpei couldn't resist puffing out his chest just a little bit. June, however, still looked confused. What does that mean? How can E deck be safe if the D deck is full of water? Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft in E deck must be watertight, separated from wherever the ship's been punctured. Here, let me show you. He pulled out his notebook and pen and sketched out a rough illustration. I see. So, this is why the ship hasn't sunk. The shape of the inside keeps it from all, hang on. The shape of the inside keeps it from all filling with water. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his pocket. So, I'm gonna go down and check it out. You can stay here, alright? But, come on, just do it, alright? He gave Junpei's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, then hopped onto the elevator. He pushed the E button, and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth as if she was trying to make a decision. Then suddenly... I'm coming with you. Huh? At the last possible moment, June dashed forward, turning sideways, just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors. Junpei jammed his finger against the open button, but it was too late. The door had shut. He and June were in the elevator, and it was headed down to E deck. Oh man. He was so surprised by June that he didn't even have time to think about what awaited him on the E deck. The elevator stopped and the door slid open. They stepped off onto the floor outside the elevator. Nothing seemed especially unusual. No fish going about their fishy business or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. Thank goodness this isn't a freaking Sound of Drop. There was, however, a blowfish, or at least something that looked very much like one. June's cheeks were puffed out, and her mouth a tiny, intense frown. Oh, knock it off. It's just like I thought. This part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around. There's no water here. June looked around nervously, then... exhaled. You're right. It's not flooded at all. See? But there's a whole lot of water. Yeah, right on top of us. What's gonna happen if the ceiling breaks? Junpei thought about that for a moment. Well, we'd probably get really wet up there. Huh? At any rate, we should probably go back as soon as we can, once we're done looking around down here. Lotus and Santa might already be back. Okay, good idea. Junpei glanced around the room as they found themselves in. The first thing he noticed was a set of thick iron bars. They ran the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right one. Well, we can't go over there. Right. Then perhaps... In the corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found an opening. He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner. A long, straight hallway stretched out in front of him. That door at the end of the hallway. There's something written on it. Yeah, let's go have a look. Junpei and June set off down the hallway at a brisk clip, somewhere between a run and a jog. Before long, they found themselves in front of the door. On it was a number written in bright red paint. 6. I knew it. This is a numbered door. And indeed, there was a red bolted to the wall right next to the door. Of course, with only 2 people, there wasn't much they could do with it. Alright, let's head back. Yes. Junpei and June turned and headed back to C deck. On their way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall. As it turned out, it was a burnt map of the ship's interior for E deck. Huh. So you guys found the door 1. They met back up with Santa and Lotus, who had explained what they'd found. Apparently, there was another numbered door on A deck, just like the one on E deck, beyond the door that the Earth Key opened. According to Santa and Lotus, there was a 1 on the door. All told, they discovered 2 new doors, the 6th door and the 1 door. It is interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded. Lotus was quiet for a moment, lost in thought. Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator. Even so, it's still very interesting. You said the 6th door was there, right? Yes. Then that means Zero planned this all out, even the sinking. That would have meant some pretty serious remodeling of the ship's interior. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Yeah, I wonder how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost. It would have been a ton, that's for sure. Well, that does go along with what Ace was saying. The most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash. Yes, it does make sense. That thought made them all go quiet for a moment. June bit her lip while Lotus sighed softly to herself, and Santa cracked a stiff neck and stared off into the distance at nothing. I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here. June looked up at Junpei with large, pleading eyes. Yeah, you're right. Ace and his team might be back already. Well, June, Junpei, and I should be able to open door 1. Huh? You guys leaving me behind? Just kidding. Alright, let's go. Lotus's words were all the impetus they needed. Back to the large hospital room they went. They're back? Is everybody okay? The moment they stepped inside, a tremendous voice echoed across the room. Hey! Where the hell did you guys go? It was Seven. Ace was right behind him, and Clover was behind Ace, although she seemed to be hanging back. It looked as though there was something strange about them. Seven had the look of a man who had seen a ghost. Ace was just pale, and Clover looked as though she was only moments from passing out entirely. For a long moment, they simply stood there, looking at one another. Junpei looked around nervously, waiting for someone to speak. No one did. He looked at Seven. What happened? What the hell kind of question is that? Seven was trying hard to be angry, but something had shaken him, hard. His shoulders were trembling, and his voice was strained. Snake is... Seven couldn't finish. He just looked away, his face twisting by. Junpei wasn't sure what. Instead, Ace spoke. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and spoke. Snake is dead. He died, just as the ninth man did. It was as if all the air had suddenly been sucked out of the room. Junpei felt his heartbeat quicken, and he realized he was having trouble breathing. He could feel a cold sweat beating on his forehead and neck. June, Santa, and Lotus looked the way he felt. All three were frozen in place, their faces white. Oh my god, that's not true, is it? We should make sure. Yeah, right, we should. They nodded to one another and headed for the number 3 door. Wait! Not that way. They stopped short and turned to look at Seven. He was pointing at the door with no number. I stuck a screwdriver in there to keep the door from closing all the way. It's not locked, so you guys can go that way. Where is he? The shower room, on the left side of the hallway. Put a broom in there too to keep the door open. We can get in without going through the numbered door, right? Yeah, that's right. Their new destination clear, Junpei and his companions headed for the door with no number. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave this episode right here. I feel like we're very close to the hour mark, and if Snake is indeed dead, then there's going to be a lot of things that we have to investigate and find out. So, hopefully this recording is the one that you guys will be able to see, because I did get a little bit further, and I don't want to record this a third time. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next MAMJ. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here. Then it happened. Ace fell forward. He slumped over onto the wooden floor, his body folded half like a boxer out cold. Ace! June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up. What happened, Ace? Say something! She shook him, frantically. His eyes fluttered open.